Hello and welcome everyone. This is going to be my review of the Mandalorian TV series on Disney Plus, and essentially I'm just going to give you. There will be spoilers here later on, but we're going to start out with the non-spoiler review, and then we'll get deeper into it. So, anyways, if you like the channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as always. And essentially again, we're going to start out with our non-spoiler review. We're going to get into the spoiler section. I will give you a warning. I'll count down to the spoiler. So let's set the stage. The Mandalorian is a streaming show that's exclusive to Disney Plus, and Disney Plus would be, type of a streaming app similar to Netflix that you would download on various devices. And you can see that here. It's only available on Disney Plus. And there are, I believe there's about eight episodes on this. Let's go ahead and confirm that. It was created by Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau is the showrunner there. And it's starring Pedro Pascal as the titular character, the Mandalorian, right? So yeah, I mean this is really enjoyable. There's obviously with anything, it's got the positive spins, the negative spins. First and foremost, the Pedro Pascal does a great job playing the Mandalorian. His performance is unique because a lot of his reactions take place behind that Mandalorian mask. So yeah, I mean it's unique, but it works. So let's go ahead and start with the trailer, the video, and then we'll get into it.
I have never met a Mandalorian. I've only read this.
Your name will be legendary.
The Mandalorian original series streaming now.
Okay. All right. So that gave you a little bit of a taste of it, but it's well done. I mean, from a cinematography standpoint and from a story standpoint, I would give it a little bit lower rating than this, than the 8.8, because there are two episodes that essentially drag. There was one episode in particular that was really disappointing to me, and I was a little worried about it because it was starting to go downhill about the middle of the series, and then it picked back up again. So that was actually tremendous, and of course it has been renewed for a season 2. So we should have season 2 coming relatively soon, sometime here in 2020. We don't have an official launch date for that yet, but again, let's go into the characters. Gina Carano plays Cara Dune, and the Mandalorian, obviously, again, Pedro Pascal. We have Carl Weathers. He's basically the head of a bounty hunters guild, and then IG-11. IG-11 is voiced by Taika Waititi. So the director Taika Waititi, he directed Thor Ragnarok, and also there's a vampire movie. I think it's called What Happens in Shadows, something of that nature. Yeah, it did a tremendous job on that. But there's some side characters. One voiced by Nick Nolte that's very heartening. Werner Herzog does a great job playing a villainous character. So yeah, there's some great performances in this, and there's a lot to love. Truly, the first 2 episodes will really draw, or no, actually, sorry, the first 3 episodes will really draw you in, and they pick up the pace, getting into the flair of what the series is all about. So they do make that magic happen. And my brother had watched this show, and he'd actually texted me, and he said, "This is the best Star Wars I've ever seen." I would agree with that. I honestly, with what they've done, in expanding it, in showing a more modernized Star Wars, in getting deeper with the characters. Obviously, the classics will always be the classics, but I think it's really hard, especially today, when you're competing against things like the Avengers, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity Wars, which in my mind, the Avengers are the modern day version of Star Wars, in that vein. So essentially, to be able to take something that's older and to give it a fresh appeal, and to hit those high notes was very tremendous. And Jon Favreau is to be commended for the job that he's done here. And there's quite a few directors, for each of these episodes that did a great job. Taika Waititi does direct the season finale. So anyways, lots to love. I'm sure I'm not giving enough credit to everyone that was involved, but it's truly something worth watching. I would call it a mandatory viewing, and it's binge worthy. It's not only is it binge worthy, it's something that you can watch multiple times over. I believe I've started watching it probably for the third time, which is unusual for me because I don't typically stay with a series for that long. So, anyways, my problems with it, I'm going to get into spoiler territory. So if you don't want spoilers, then go ahead and leave right now. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Now we're into spoilers. For those of you who are leaving, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us to grow. But let's get into the spoilers, the things that I didn't like about the show. So as we had gone to episodes 4 and 5, which are the weak points of the show, we had some comedians that were not giving very very strong performances, and it just threw things off. So Amy Sedaris, her performance, her episode, and this was my least favorite episode, and this was actually episode 5, where the Mandalorian ship gets damaged, and he lands at Mos Eisley, and he needs to get repairs. The way that she portrays this character, it's off-putting. It's not likable, for one. So it's not great acting, and two, it's very modern. It's very much the way that she's acting is a lot like someone from our culture rather than someone from the Star Wars culture, because she's it's like somebody just kidnapped a mechanic from America and just dropped her off at Mos Eisley. Literally, that's so it's kind of cringeworthy. At least it was for me. The premise is sweet in what she's doing, but this wouldn't have been as big of a problem if the episode itself, if episode 5 was not so devoid of really great moments. So as we're looking at things like when the Mandalorian is going through the desert in Mos Eisley with this young bounty hunter, there's just so much predictability in it. It's very poorly written, and they have a villain that's truly awesome, essentially in this, and she's here and gone immediately. She gave an incredible performance. She was, intimidating, and they just kind of did away with her. So, it's okay. Episode 5 was okay looking at it in retrospect. But honestly, here's the thing. You could watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 are mandatory. You could skip episode 4. So this was episode 4, where they basically went to another planet. It was kind of a side story. There was an an AT-AT or an ATST that they had to fight. Episode 4 was better than episode 5, but episodes 4 and 5 were the weakest episodes of the season. But the great thing is that it picks back up with Bill Burr and the crew in episode 6. When they do more of a heist type of story, and you've got these really great kind of iconic characters for those heist sequences. So again, the reason why I'm giving a bad score for episodes 4 and 5 is that you could just wipe them out altogether, and you could watch 1 through 3, 6 through 8, and be perfectly happy. But overall, that's not a failure. In my book, they did a great job. You're going to have your weaker episodes. You're going to have things that kind of fall flat. So in terms of grading the whole season, I would still give it an A. I'd still say that it's very worthy of a must watch, right? So anyways, as soon as you get into episode 6, it gets into the darker part of the story too. Episodes 6, 7, and 8, where you have Baby Yoda choking out Gina Carano's character, things like that. You're just going, wow, Yoda, he's very protective, of the Mandalorian, and just a tremendously cute character overall. You really care about him. You really care about the Mandalorian. And it's a unique story, someone so powerful protecting, something so small and fragile. I'm not saying it hasn't been done before, but this is such a fresh take on the Star Wars universe. A lot of people, I think, look at Star Wars and they say, okay, how are we going to start this story? We're going to start with someone with a laser sword, and they're a child, or they're a teenager, or they're a fully grown adult. And then for some reason they get trained with their laser sword. And then for some reason they have to defeat some really bad people who also use laser swords. And that's mostly been what folks have been trying to recreate with Star Wars. So I really applaud mostly the creativity with this series and saying, you know what, we're going to take a character who pretty much never takes off his helmet, 99% of the show. So he's expressing himself inside this helmet. And then another character that's a puppet. This character is extremely vulnerable. He's a baby. For all intents and purposes, he doesn't speak. And we're going to make a hit show with that. That's really gutsy. And that's what they did with R2-D2 and C-3PO. It was a very gutsy move, if you think about it, to try to do comedy with 2 droids, with 2 robots on the screen. Fortunately, the voice acting worked, and it was a great combination, but it was a huge risk. At the time, it could have fallen flat for any number of reasons, right? And the same thing here. For example, they were thinking about doing a full CGI Baby Yoda, and then at the last minute, Werner Herzog convinced them to use a puppet, so they had something more realistic and tangible. So anyways, it's a great show. I highly recommend it. It's worth watching and rewatching. Definitely looking forward to the second season. Thank you so much for your time today, and look for more videos from us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon. Bye.